everybody. My name is Barbara Eichinger from Futureplus Systems, and today I'm going to talk about protecting your data center investment using the DDR3 detective, which is for memory compliance testing. So the weather in your data center is cloudy with a chance of errors. Memory is the #2 failure in the data center. If you have data corruption, it leads to server crashes, incorrect software operation, performance problems, the ominous 404 page not found, meaning your customers are accessing your information from the cloud and there's some type of a glitch in the system or the server's unavailable and they get a page not found. And of course, increased costs. The manpower to service the down machines, the DIMM and or the server replacement, and of course, lost customers. Sometimes we see violations of the JEDEC specification result in what data center managers call ghost errors or ghost crashes, where the system will crash, they will run a diagnostic, and everything looks good, only to repeat itself about a month later. What we have found is that these ghost crashes are due to compliance violations of the memory subsystem. So what we've come up with is a product. It's called the DDR3 detective. And when we move to DDR4, we'll have the DDR4 detective. Together, we just refer to them as the DDR detective. What this product does is it detects over 400 memory subsystem violations on every clock edge of the memory bus. It also validates your BIOS settings. Some of the memory configurations are different. For example, you might have a register DIMM or unbuffered DIMM or a load reduced DIMM. You might have a 2R or a 1R configuration. You might have a by 16 DRAMs or by 4 DRAMs or by 8 DRAMs. Every single one of those unique memory configurations requires unique BIOS settings. If those BIOS settings are not correct, it could result in the memory controller inaccurately accessing the DRAM, which would then lead to ghost errors and sometimes mysterious crashes. You can also use this tool to evaluate mission-critical servers. For example, if you're in the financial industry or the banking industry, having a trade not go through or an incorrect transaction could be fairly disastrous. If there is corruption in the memory subsystem, that could happen. This product also supports different DIMM and SO-DIMM form factors. So it pretty much can be used with all the different types of servers that are out on the market today. It's easy to install, and it's very easy to use. It's automated. It also gives real performance, and it tells you what the bus speed of the memory subsystem is. This can be useful if you're writing a diagnostic or you're trying to bring a system online. We can tell you what speed the memory subsystem is running at and if you're creating a lot of traffic in the memory subsystem. Here's a picture of the product. It's a self-contained box attached to an interposer. The interposer is put into the system. It sits between the motherboard and the DIMM. That's it. There's no active circuitry on the interposer itself. It just takes a small amount of current off the bus, brings that to the box, amplifies the signal, and recreates the DDR3 bus inside the box. You simply connect your laptop through the USB. So what does this tool do? Well, the first thing it does is it does an automated mode register acquisition. Now, I know that kind of sounds a little bit scary, but what happens is when the memory subsystem powers up, the memory controller and the DRAM do what we call training. At the end of this training, the memory controller will acquire its final settings that it will use to interface to the DIMM. We grab those final settings and use those when performing the tests. So here's the setup. So what you can see is the violation parameters down the middle with all the checks. And then you'll see the resulting equations in the boxes. So what happens is, under the general parameters, we use all of those numbers, we memory controller and the DIMM. If transactions are too close together or too far apart, we will flag that as a violation. This can help you qualify this memory subsystem and help reduce unexplained crashes and data corruption. So this is what it looks like if the tool detects a violation. Each one of those boxes is an equation that we use to check the traffic between the memory controller and the DIMM. If there is a violation in the spacing of those commands, we will turn it yellow and give a count. The count is the number of violations that we've seen. The little red squares indicate what rank within the DIMM that we've seen the violation on. So let's talk about a couple of these so you can get an idea. The one over on the far left, your far right, which is V28, that's refresh to refresh. So the memory in your data center servers is dynamic random access memory. It's not static, it needs to be refreshed. The memory controller, through the specification from the JEDEC compliance, says that it has to be refreshed at certain intervals. If it is not refreshed at those certain intervals, the DRAM will lose state and will result in data corruption. So what we often see is that the memory controller gets very busy and it will not send the proper number of refreshes to the DRAM. The DRAM may not fail right away, but after thousands of times, months and months go by, statistically it becomes very likely that the DRAM will lose state and data corruption will occur. So let's take another look at another violation. Violation 12, which is an activate to a pre-charge. This is a situation where the DRAM specification says, hey, when you hit me with an activate command, which opens a bank, you have to wait so many clock ticks before you close that bank. If you do those two transactions too close together, I may miss the second transaction. And that's exactly what happens here. The memory controller is putting those two commands too close together, which might cause the DRAM to miss the closing of the bank, which would then have it be reactivated, which could result in data corruption. So what happens when we actually see one of these violations? Let's say you want to go back to the company that sold you these servers. Well, we can actually zero in and show the actual commands that led up to the transaction that formed the violation. So we can give a lot of information surrounding the violation. So we can not only tell people what happened, but we can also check the violation that indeed it is correct. So another thing the tool does is it will actually tell you what the bus frequency is. We see some situations where we go into a customer site, we look at their server, and they say, gee, I thought this was a 1600 DDR3. And we're saying, no, it's only running at 1333. And then the customer would reply, well, why did I pay for 1600 DIMMs? So this tool can tell you exactly how fast the bus is running to make sure that it is what you expect it to be. The other thing is we can look for performance. We can tell you the command performance on the bus and the data bandwidth. This is very important if you're writing any type of a diagnostic or if you're trying to tell if your servers are maxed out from a memory bandwidth perspective. Let's say you have poor response time to your software and you can't figure out why. If you're going to blame the hardware and its response time on the memory bus, you might want to check that out. So this tool can tell you how fast the memory bus is going and if it is bandwidth limited. Okay, so in summary, don't fill your data center with problems. Ask for your supplier's validation reports. And if they don't have them, tell them to call us. All of these servers should have their memory subsystem validated. And what we're seeing is they're not. The Tier 1 is getting a lot of pressure from the Tier 2 supplier. And the Tier 2 supplier is not interested in buying test equipment and adding cost through testing. They just want to sell servers into your data center. You should always evaluate your new servers before deployment and look for validation issues. It's also a good idea to check your BIOS settings when your firmware is updated on your server to make sure that it's still compatible with your memory subsystem. So in summary, you can come see our live demo in booth 111. And again, I'm Barb Eichinger from Futureplus Systems. Thank you very much. Is there any questions? Okay, great. Thank you very much.